would explode into the palace with just seeing them going up and down, up and down. And it was CPR. You show your top hat. Yes, absolutely, young man.
This is Evolve Your Health Beyond the Bench, a podcast dedicated to everything fitness, health and adventure. This is your time to evolve. Sergio
Petrucci.
Scottish.
Welsh.
Sergio, thanks very much for calling in. So for anybody living in the shadows who don't know what Red Sky is, what is Red Sky?
Well, the textbook answer is Red Sky saves lives. We are a heart charity. We were founded in 2020 on the 20th of March, in the day of lockdown. We are set up to help support babies, children and adults with complex heart problems. We're also there to give moral support, holistic support, and also, even if they need it, a shoulder to cry on. We also entrust professional counselling services to be able to be there for our families 24/7 within maximum 72 hours of contacting us. We'll have somebody on our programs. Yeah, we need to act fast, and we do it straight away.
How did Red Sky come about?
So the Red Sky Foundation started as a give back, a go-to to say thank you to the hospital that saved my daughter's life when she had open heart surgery. The morning Luna had her operation, the sun turned the sky full of fire, which is where the name comes from, Red Sky. And I made a promise that I would hopefully be able to return and do some great things for the unit and support other families, other children that need the support that we got. Little did I think that Red Sky would explode into the popularity that it has now and enjoys, because we are doing so much. It's safe to say that I have kept my promise, and we've made some amazing partnerships.
And saved some lives, probably time and time again, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Have you got a number for that?
Well, I asked the ambulance service alone for our defibrillator project, and they said that based on the figures that we've given them and the numbers of defibrillators out in communities, it's an average of over 1,300 times each box has been opened, which is phenomenal, really. We would be nothing without that support.
Putting life-saving equipment out there that some would argue is probably not your responsibility and it should be done from government level, I suppose. How do you manage to do that, A, with a smile on your face and quite a positive attitude? Anybody that knows you always comments on your demeanour, I suppose, if you want to say that. Mm-hmm. You must hear some tragic stories.
I do.
And I suppose a little smile goes a long way, but you manage to do that. So how is it for you?
It's not easy, it really isn't. And I think a lot of people see a side that everybody else does. It is a really positive, cool, trendy brand.
Absolutely.
We're doing amazing things. It's a brand that people want to associate with, whether or not they're fundraising or whether or not they've got their own business as well. Aligning with what we do is just amplified in terms of the support we get. People don't know the phone calls that we receive late at night, or the desperation calls on a Sunday when their child has been rushed into hospital and they realise that there's nowhere for them parents to stay, to be close by. Or even sometimes when a parent has lost their child and they're a single parent, they've got no one else to turn to.
Apart from the emotional side for you, I suppose, and the workload that you've got on board, it must cost quite a lot of money. How can people help?
People, I would love it if they could follow our socials, because we keep people up to date on there. And I'm mindful that sometimes these people have got to work. Times are tough for them as well, so they'll need to be paid for what they do. Now, that could be someone delivering a first aid session in a school or a community. For us, it could be somebody going to deliver. And if we can cover some costs for them, that's brilliant. But the majority of the money that we bring in through fundraising is going right to the coalface, which is literally helping to support these families. And it's not just the families, it could be extended to the patient themselves or the doctors and the nurses. And only as recently as last night, I had a conversation with a clinician from hospital to say that times are tough in the hospital. Morale's a little bit low. They're working long hours and they don't get the support that they would like to. Can I do anything to help? And I don't have all the answers, but I just try and put myself in their shoes to find out what would I want if I felt run down. And believe you me, every day I feel a little run down. But if that's a case of providing them with the support, the counselling, or will it be possible for us to send holistic treatments over to the hospital? Maybe fund some salaries to bring more staff in at the NHS that they can alleviate the pressure on some professionals. And if we can do that, and we've done this in the past historically, and it does work, it does work. But my main aim is to make sure that anyone who comes into contact with Red Sky Foundation has fun, enjoys everything about us, but also understands why we're doing it and the reasons what we've done it and what we've set it up for. And that stems from the top, whether it's myself, the board of trustees, who I'm accountable to, but also the legislation behind everything set up. We're part of the fundraising regulator. We have to meet demands. We have to meet
I think
goals.
it's fair, anybody that doesn't know anything about charitable endeavours, to register a charity in the first instance isn't a straightforward thing, is it? It's not like jumping on Company's House and registering a limited company. There's quite a process to that, isn't there? Did that take quite a long time?
It certainly did. Like I say, we were to and fro with the Charity Commission, and it wasn't cut and dry. For all we were seeing initially as just being a fundraiser for the NHS. Very, very community focused. It had to be driven to save lives. It had to show that we were going to make a positive impact. It also had to be evident that there wasn't another service like ours in this area and what we were delivering. And it doesn't just stop there. With the Charity Commission, it's a massive organisation that are there to govern as well. But it goes down to the board of trustees. So selecting the board of trustees, they all have to be independent. They're vetted on a number of different platforms as well to make sure that they are fit and proper for the role. Our trustees, there's 6 of them, and they come from a variety of backgrounds who can add support to the charity as well. And it's not just support for the charity, but support for me and the people that work within the charity.
And you mentioned if somebody was going to go into the schools and first aid, train 30 students, they'd be paid for that, which I believe that's fair. It's quite important, I think, to mention as well that at the point of use, so for the school, coming back to, you mentioned about staff being paid and things, and I know in charity world this is quite a biggie. Now, I suppose your national comparable would be fair to say something along the lines of the British Heart Foundation. I don't know what their wage bill comes in at, but it'll be significant. Point of use for a defibrillator on the high street, there's no charge for anybody along those lines, is there?
No, I've always been passionate about making sure that people shouldn't be charged a fee for learning how to save somebody's life. At the end of the day, you wouldn't expect somebody to pay to use how to use a fire extinguisher, for example. The instructions are plain and clear to see, as there are on a defibrillator, on what to do in an emergency.
First aid was never taught in schools or in the workplace, really, was it?
No, not certainly when I was at school. It was many moons ago now, but it's now part of the secondary school curriculum.
Right.
We're doing a lot with primary schools as well, grassroots football teams and sport teams. And we also have produced a video, a 15-minute training tutorial that we've put together with the North East Ambulance Service to illustrate and demonstrate how and what to do in an emergency, a medical emergency. The most important.
How can I watch that?
You could go on redskyfoundation.com. It's a website that we've got on to explain exactly what we do as a charity, what we're set up to do, and the achievements that we've had to date. Make sure you check out the website. It's not hard to find, Red Sky Foundation.
People have seen the logo dotted about, certainly in kind of Tyne and Wear, County Durham, and the wider part of the northeast. I mean, you only have to literally turn a corner when you see a closed recycling bin, a defibrillator outside of a building, even the side of a petrol tank, I'm led to believe at the minute there.
Yeah, that's right. But from a brand point of view, my background is marketing, advertising and promotion. And I believe that the only way to get people to learn about what you do is to really get in their face, and whether that's somebody talking to them, whether it's visual. I mean, the clothing bins are fantastic. Not only are they a great brand advertiser, but it meets part of our sustainability project and goals and objectives. Far better to recycle those clothes and put them into landfill. And that's what we do. And the money that we use helps us to maintain those defibrillators on the high street and deliver the services that we do in hospitals as well. And people don't realise that the defibrillators cost money after they've been installed. because every time they're used, the pads need changing over time after
And they're quite
repeat
expensive,
use.
aren't they?
That's right. They cost about £70. If someone wants to get a defibrillator, we would encourage them to be part of the fundraising process as well, because if you give everybody something for free or for nothing, then they might not take ownership of that. And what I want people to do is be proud, A, to know that it's there, and B, to know that it's there because they've done something.
Have
And
a
it
bit of
doesn't,
ownership.
exactly, it doesn't have to be the full amount of funding, but it certainly helps. Because if one guy could raise £2,000 and another guy might only raise £300 or £400, it's still a difference. It's still a contribution. It's still something for that person to be proud of.
Funds and availability of things could be saturated quite quick, I suppose, if people don't want to do their bit almost. And
The charities ran as a business essentially, and the board of directors or the board of trustees are volunteers, and they are commercially minded as well. Running the charity is no different. We have an open door policy all the time. We have people that can come in and volunteer their services. We're always desperate. We currently have an apprentice that's just started, and we're fair. We pay him the national minimum wage, and he does a wonderful job of maintaining our network of defibrillators. We also have a lady who looks after our marketing and communications. I have myself in there as well, and that makes up the team. We're only tiny, and that's only been apparent for the last 12 months. Our apprentice has been in situ since November, so only a couple of months. But before that, everything was done on one person, really.
colossal juggling act, isn't it?
I'm looking at those people holding the rock on their shoulders there
And
on your
that must
shelf.
be a light one, eh? So
I could certainly see a parody there, that's for sure. I don't think a lot of people realise, they think it comes naturally, but it is. It's a lot of hard work, and I'm in the right place here that you get the results if you put the work in. It's fair to say that the partnerships that we've established over the years of existing, I mean, we began this story in 2015 when my little girl had an operation. We didn't have our first fundraising event until 2016. We did all that fundraising for the hospital right up until we got charitable status for the unit to ensure that we could help and buy machinery. And the only reason why we were and still are successful is because we're able to demonstrate exactly what we do when we do fundraise. What greater story to tell is to show somebody that a life's been saved because of somebody else's actions. Sitting here alone has given me an opportunity and a platform to share a little bit of the behind the scenes. We get support from other corporates that help, which means that when you are running for us or you are walking up a hill, you're not paying for the van, you're actually paying for a life. You're paying for a heartbeat, and that's exactly what we do. The University of Sunderland have been a brilliant help to us. It's not all about running marathons and things like that. Sometimes we need a hand packing or wrapping the defibrillators that we give away at Christmas time. At Christmas time, we give over £150,000 worth of defibrillators to grassroots sport teams, but also to the over 40s in the Wearside League as well, and made sure that every single team in that league that didn't have a defibrillator had one at touchline. We are unique. We're unique, but I'm proud to be different, and that's what makes us special. Only this morning I was on the telephone to the NHS, and the amount of treacle that they have to tread through to get things done is something that I have to learn to deal with, because I'm used to just acting there and then. There's walls to get through, but people like you and people like who come in this gym, not only are they physically strong, but they'll help us get those walls down. I just don't understand why people put so much red tape in the way.
yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot of red tape, especially with anything kind of government based. And a lot of the time there's some rationale for that, whatever that reason may be. But some of the time you've just got to go with your gut instinct. Something like the role that you do doesn't sit about and wait, does it? You've naturally put a lot of hard work in, and like you say, you've built a brand into something that's instantly recognisable by the vast majority of the region. That's been recognised, hasn't it? Was it a year and a half ago you got an MBE? Since that, also the Regional Pride of Britain Award as well. How was that for you? How did it come about?
I don't really know how it happens, to be fair. I think there's a big process to be awarded an MBE.
I would imagine so.
I did ask King Charles, who was it that submitted the recommendations for the awards, but My wife got one as well, and she's been standing by my side all the way through this. It's a special mention to her, and also the my family, my little boy and my little girl, and those long hours. They do have sacrifices that we have to make. And my wife works full time in another organisation, so when she comes home, she picks her laptop up and helps where she can. She's got her own agenda. She's got her own achievements to make and her goals to get, and which is brilliant. It really is. But when King Charles invited us to the palace with an invitation not only to my mum and dad, but Emma's mum and dad as well, and the children coming as well, we couldn't believe it, and I thought it was a wind up, to be honest with you. And
did it just come as a letter through your door?
but Emma played a joke on me, because I said we both got an MBE, and she hid my invitation to the palace under the doormat. Because it was stamped on the envelope with the royal crest and the coat of arms, delivered by His Majesty the King. So she must have had an idea, right? What it could have been. She opened hers, and with me watching over the shoulder, wondering what it was, and it was only addressed to her, and the letter was to Emma, and being awarded. And I was looking over there. I was in my head, I was thinking, there's two of us here. The graft should be shared.
While also biting your lip and saying, well done.
Yeah, and I did. And I was like, oh, Emma, that's amazing. Well done. Congratulations.
Where's my...
And I was like, I didn't dare say it, but it was like, I didn't want to take the fun. And she let me wait 5 or 10 minutes before she went and got mine from under the doormat and said, we see you got one as well.
Pick your lip up.
I pick your lip up. But what a most amazing experience. And I even said back then, when the king was asking about it and what it felt like, I know it sounds cliched and that, but Emma and myself are just the custodians of those medals, and they really belong to the children, the doctors that fix their hearts, and the families that we represent. But everybody who either runs, breaks a sweat, has tears, maybe sometimes bleeds for Red Sky, it belongs to them, and that's the most important message I would like to put out, that I'm so, so grateful, because without that support, none of this would happen. And I'll be honest with you, would I exchange it for somebody's heart to save? Of course I would. Yeah, I would. And when we went down there, it was a special occasion. I wanted to make sure that we could get some lovely photographs. I went and hired a lovely suit. It said no top hats on the invitation, but I made sure that I got one. I made my dad carry it in case he got chucked out and I didn't,
I wonder what the reason for that is, whether it's maybe a respect thing or a tradition thing, or...
Well, I was looking at all the other celebs and that who've received them, and they've all had them. I remember, loads of photographs. But I'm pleased I did take it, because, again, it was a moment of treasure, and one that will live with me for the rest of my life. And some people were there in just a casual lounge suit. Some guy was in there with a pair of trainers and a suit, and I nudged the guy who was head of the house. I said, hey, and I found what his name is. It's Tony. Do you think I'm a bit overdressed? He went, sir, one can never be overdressed. You need the king. And I was like, all right, thanks. And yeah, and all the protocol went out the window. We were told how to address His Majesty, speak when you're spoken to, and it just went out the window.
How was that? Was that quite difficult?
It was, because, I'm not going to say I don't follow instructions too well, but I was just overwhelmed by it, and I said, look, Charles, we're so grateful to be here. We've had a lovely day.
You'll have not gotten any Cadbury's chocolate, did you? Because did they lose the royal seal of approval? Or
I heard that as well, yeah.
Maybe.
We didn't get very much, to be honest with you. You only got a glass of water if you felt a bit faint, but we had a lovely experience. And getting there, it was a lovely ride through London. And
now there's a Red Sky defibrillator at the foot of the doors in Buckingham Palace.
That was the offer.
Right.
The king said he was pretty much covered, and that made the national press when I said it's okay. The one I've got planned for you, you can slide it straight into Camilla's handbag, so wherever you go, she'll be able to save your life. And that's what everybody found quite amusing. And a part of the programme is to to get defibrillators across the country. We're working with some fantastic people, trying to put one in each area as well. It's just a great journey. And, it doesn't matter whether you come from affluent background or aristocracy, how you just the man in the street and you just want to do something great. We've got a project going at the moment with a guy called Paul Gregory, a really, really splendid lad. And he's a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and sadly his daughter Lauren died after complications from a cardiac arrest, and he wanted to create a legacy for his daughter. And he reached out to us because, once again, he turned a corner somewhere in Yorkshire and saw us. And he was signposted to work with us, and we're helping him achieve that goal by helping him with a campaign called One in Every Corner, which is to put a defibrillator inside of every football stadium, inside of every corner, and give supporters the best chance of surviving as well. But the awareness or the brand and the reach that we're getting is it's a growth thing, My dad always said, if you plant the seed crooked, it'll grow crooked. If you plant it straight, it'll grow upright. But what you've got to do with that flower is to water it and give enough sunshine and food all the time, and it will grow. And sure enough, call the Red Sky Foundation a nice plant or a flower. It's certainly blooming at the moment.
Very good mantra to have as well, isn't it? And with 4 in each corner, I think you've only got to flip on the news every other weekend, really, at the minute, and you hear about heart attacks, cardiac arrests in football stadiums time and time again. Personally, I think that especially the Premier League team should certainly be doing this themselves, but I think the science says for every 1 minute you don't have access to a defibrillator after a cardiac emergency, you lose 10% chance of survival, which is already pretty slim. 1 in each corner means that, wherever you are in this football stadium, you get down to pitch side and there's going to be something available to you. So it's a really good thing that you're doing, although maybe, like I say, some might argue that the onus shouldn't be with the charity, but...
Match days are different. They have ambulance companies and first responders on site, and they are covered on a match day, but the defibrillator might not be as closest to the person as what it could be or should be. And I know there's a few comments that have been made by those supporter groups to say the club should be putting that in their pockets. And some are, to be honest with you.
Nevertheless, I suppose, as things stand, there isn't one in every corner at the moment. If you're in a position to be able to help out, then it's like
somebody passed away in Scotland at a Rangers game last weekend. It's happening more and more often. Listen, if we could save a life or give someone the best chance, and by putting this program together is just a really good thing. And it was part of our constitution, being the charity that we are. Every year we have goals and objectives to meet. One thing that we wanted to do was put a defibrillator outside of every stadium, but I said a defibrillator there, didn't I? Well, it's a long way to get from the south stand to the north stand when you say every minute does count. So when Paul Tango, he came along and said it's 4 in every corner, we like a challenge and a half, but we thought this is going to be costing a fortune to do it. So that's why we need the support of the supporter groups as well. But it's certainly achievable. And we're doing one by one by one by one. And you know what? We've already done Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday now, because that's Paul's first team that he supports, albeit he's from Wolverhampton, so we won't figure that one out. I don't know why you pick Sheffield from Wolverhampton when you've got all them Brummies knocking around.
We've got a Sheffield Wednesday fan in here.
Have you?
Yeah, he's actually Sheffield United, but he'll be listening to this, and we'll know secretly it's
What's he
Wednesday
called
in
then?
there somewhere. He's Craig, so he'll probably be in and about a bit later. So
well, Craig, I'm now an adopted owl as well, so and a blade, because on Monday next week, Red Sky Foundation, Paul Gregory, Tango are going to be rocking the Bramall Lane at half time for that top of the table clash. We're going to be presenting them with something quite special that day, and they're going to give us a nice warm round of applause, and they're going to give a little tribute to Lauren, and that's what it's about. Listen, the Red Sky Foundation, okay, yes, it was started with my own personal story. It's a happy story because my little girl, she's fitting well, but this is all about other people's stories now, and that's what's generating the momentum and the build of what we're creating. So Paul Tango Gregory, his own grief, his story made him become and enabled him to become part of our family. And it's our job to put our arms around him and embrace it and say we're here and we'll blow wind in his sails, just like all the people that have done that with us. And he can use the Red Sky Foundation as a platform to go out and share stories. He texts me every day. He's got journalists queuing up to talk to him because it's such a great thing that he's doing, and it really is. He was on TalkSport last week, and he's been on TV when we launched it in December. It was the anniversary of his daughter's funeral. And the following that he's got is brilliant. And if you don't know who Tango is, that's his nickname. It's affectionately named because he looks like the Tango Man from the advert in the 80s.
I can hear the keyboard typing.
Oh, I know. He's honestly, what a great infectious character that he has. And he's passionate as well, which is what I love. He's passionate about what he wants to achieve and why he's doing it. And he's got reason to do it. But I know Lauren I wish I'd met her, because I would be able to have a conversation with her and say, look what your dad's doing, because he's an absolute trooper. But he's an inspiration to so many others.
Yeah, inspirational people, inspirational stories, and an inspirational job, I suppose. I lost my mum to a cardiac arrest in a big shopping centre back in 2006. And one of the things I noted at the time, that gave me a little bit of a drive at the time to want to feel a connection, I suppose, through charitable work. But with the big national that I looked at, one of the things was I just didn't have the friend circle. I just didn't have the capacity to be able to earn the type of money that they were asking for donations for, the likes of the Great North Run and things like that. And literally every pound counts, So if people jump on your website and just give a pound, then I suppose that goes a long way in the bigger picture. But you've got a lot of adventures, I suppose, coming up. You've got a lot of things people can get involved in, an experience for themselves at the same time, and that goes hand in hand. But what's some of the things that you've got coming up at the moment?
So organically, our events calendar's developed really exponentially. We start January as a little bit of a slow burner because we know that in February it's Heart Month, and obviously it's the month of love, Valentine's Day, a lot of heart connotations there. And we have a Wear Red Day, which is always the first Friday of every February. And we encourage schools, workplaces to get involved and just wear something red. It doesn't even have to be a major thing. It could be lipstick or a pair of earrings. And it's just to raise awareness. It's not to raise money. And you touched on something there that seems to be like other organisations are just desperate to get as much money in as possible and that. But for me and Red Sky Foundation, yes, it's important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. In March, we have it's the anniversary of Luna's operation. We have the Red Sky Ball. It's our flagship. It's where we started and how we started the fundraising journey. It's at the Beacon of Light in Sunderland. And I like to keep it in Sunderland because it was born and bred there, and we would be welcoming close to 1,000 people to come and attend that, dressed up. We'll entertain them. We'll feed them well. They're going to have a great dance and raise some vital funds in the process as well. We have a silent auction, so people at home can bid on prizes as well. May we...
Top hats allowed?
Top hats, if you can wear. It's especially a top hat. Yes, absolutely, young man. And May we have the Sunderland Runs. We're the official charity partner of the 10K, the half marathon, and we'll be bossing it in Keele Square. Our flags will be waving, our runners will be pounding the streets away your side, and there's some spectacular little views. We've got a great coastline that people will be running along, and come and join us. We've got a party atmosphere. That's one thing. We, like I said at the beginning, we have fun, and that's the most important thing. So keep fit, keep your heart healthy, and have fun. And then in June we go on our cycle ride. And you know what, in lockdown, this is when the cycling started, because I thought, just like everybody else, I was in the back of that, and I was enjoying the beers every time the sun rose. And that's partly the reason I stopped drinking alcohol, to be honest, Mick, because loose lips and all that. I said riding a bicycle across the country couldn't have been that hard. I forgot my geography at school, man, when I realised those things called the Pennines in the way, you had to get over them. But we've kept it going. I haven't said that. We did the coast to coast once, and then following that, the following year, we repeated the cycling expedition and decided it would be Edinburgh to Sunderland because it's all downhill. I thought it would be a piece of cake. Once again, Christopher
Yeah,
Columbus.
you know the north and south thing. That's not
Now I
necessary.
know. It's slightly
And it's not the
longer.
first time I've heard that either.
Yeah, and then I think that's June and July. We've got the Newcastle 10K and the Bladen races for those Geordies, and that is a famous one because we don't discriminate. We do look after everybody, even if you're a
In fact, there's some black and white defibrillators gone out into the bigger picture.
There is.
Our heart super centre, if you want to call it that, is Newcastle based. In fact, did you say only one of two in the country, isn't it?
The Freeman Hospital and Great Ormond Street, they are the only two places of transplantation for hearts in children in the world, not in the world, in the UK, sorry. But people come from all over the world to learn heart transplant operations. I was privileged 2 years ago to be in the school, in the theatre, and to witness firsthand a transplant and a valve being fitted. What an experience that was. In November, what's happening this year, we have, for the first time ever, we've organised a trip to Everest, and we have 8 people signed up to do that. And this Friday coming, we have another 2 gentlemen leaving the northeast to do it on their own, which is so commendable. Do you know what? I've skipped a month there because in September, it's probably our biggest month. It's Organ Donation Awareness Month. It's an opportunity for us to bang the drum again for those families and give the hope to children and adults as well, the parents, to know that we're talking and generating conversations about organ donation. And there's this little thing called the Great North Run. And when this journey started, Mick, I always dreamt about seeing somebody proudly wearing one of our t-shirts with Red Sky across the chest and breaking a sweat. And in my mind, I was expecting it to be someone like Mo Farah, aim high, But I didn't expect our first Great North Run was it was 2022. And we had 15 runners. 2023, it grew. And then last year, honestly, we had 433 runners take part. And this year, I don't even want to tell you how many we've got.
And grown.
It is. We have massages in the back of the tent. We have everybody needs a leg rub after a run like that. We have celebrations. It's bouncing. It's the best place to be. Honestly, voted best charity running experience by every single person that pulls on a Red Sky top.
And I think it's quite important as well to point out the likes of the massage and this kind of thing. That doesn't come from the charity's pot, does it? It's people giving up their own time.
Correct, that's right. And they're all giving up their time. And they're giving up their time because they might not be able to run the marathon or half marathon, but they can contribute.
And that, do other things.
Yeah, and do you know what is just as important to me to have people running for the Red Sky Foundation is to have them cheered on, to support, to have people, screaming their name, go Team Red Sky along the route, because if a footballer had to play a match in an empty stadium, no atmosphere, no singing, no chanting the names, where's the motivation?
Yeah, I never ran, but I suppose in the bigger picture, relatively recently, I was certainly an adult, and I've done the Great North Run a couple of times. I give or take away about 100 kilo, and stereotypically, I'm not a runner. I seem to do all right. I can do about a 2-hour half marathon. It's hard work for us, and one of the things that keeps me going surely is the people on the sidelines at the Great North Run, the bands, the flags, the ambience, if you want to call it that. So you're absolutely right. People kind of waving a flag at the side and getting people over the line at the end plays a massive role. If people didn't have that experience, probably wouldn't want to go back and do it again.
And if anyone is watching who would like to be part of the Red Sky setup on a run day, and you don't want to run, or you can't run, or you don't feel like you can, or you might be too old, or you just might not have it in you, hey, you can still come on and team. We'll give you the gear to give them all the support that they need. Honestly, I would love more and more supporters and just line those streets, whether it's in Sunderland, Durham, or Gateshead and Newcastle. And listen, while we're talking about this subject, I missed that July out, because if anybody that's watching this, Mick ran a Great North 10K. There's a last-minute entry. His pal there recruited him, didn't he?
Yeah, but we actually missed our wave, so everything kind of changed quite quickly.
And it's another example of what's happened with Red Sky's success, I believe, in somebody's watching over us. Those stars aligned, because if you're watching this, we're sitting in the presence of greatness here. He's a super heart hero because I'll explain what happened. Okay, so we went down on the central reservation at the metro on the motorway in Newcastle, and all the waves of runners were going through. And the last wave, I was thinking, well, where's Mick and Troy? And sure enough, I mean, he was dressed.
I was used to being at the back.
Well, he was dressed as a knight in shining armour, and I promise you, and I was taking photographs of everybody that was going past. And then for some reason, when the wave went and everybody went past, it was time to go back up onto the town moor, as they say in Newcastle. And then for some bizarre reason, I looked over my right shoulder. I don't know what made me do it, but I saw this silver helmet, because he was dressed as St. George, right? And he had his red cape on and the red sky t-shirt Troy had on. And I just seen them going up and down, kneeling down, and I knew straight away what it was. And it was CPR. He was doing CPR. Either that or he was blowing a tyre up on somebody's bicycle. But honestly,
it was the new Nike Air Max.
Yeah, well, no, it was my cue to go and run and get that defibrillator to get it to you, wasn't it? And honestly, this guy here saved a man's life because he performed early CPR on a 78-year-old bloke from Teesside who ironically had parked his car outside the crematorium. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't. That's a new one.
And he shocked him 3 times using that red sky defibrillator. We went to see him in hospital and share the story with him and how he saved his life, and he was really grateful. And wow, what an experience! And that was my first hands-on visual of seeing someone's life being saved by a defibrillator and the effective.
It shows, doesn't it? It shows everybody that teaches first aid, that puts first aid into the community by one way or another, keep shouting this song, if you want to call it, about early recognition and early CPR, early defibrillation.
Oh, I thought you were going to sing the Bee Gees song there.
Yeah,
how does it go?
Everyone would just switch off. But yeah, everything fell into place for that guy that day, didn't it?
Well,
even down to the fact that because of the run, the roads were closed and there was a clear run for the ambulance crew to get him up to the hospital quick time. So,
And he went straight to the RVI. He was sitting in bed a couple of hours later, couple of stents. 3 times that defibrillator had shocked his heart to try and get it back into a normal sinus rhythm. And I think that's what a lot of people, and you isn't included, explained what was happening, because people, when they see somebody collapse and they think they're breathing, they're not. There's a special word for it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Agonal breathing.
Agonal breathing, yeah. It actually had potential to cause a bit of a problem on the day in terms of some of the passers-by that were first aid trained. You know, nothing against bog standard first aid training, but it teaches you that this is going to be this perfectly almost dead body that you then start CPR on, and in reality, it's not like that. So these passers-by that were stood next to him as he collapsed, seen the agonal breathing, assumed he was breathing. As a human, we'll probably want to see the good side of things, you know. So we make an assumption that he is breathing because we don't want to see somebody unwell, and try to put him in the recovery position. So it almost got confrontational, I suppose.
And how did that make you feel?
To be honest, not in a good place, because you certainly don't want to be pulling somebody off, somebody trying to help somebody, if that makes sense. And then there's that doubt, I suppose, in the back of your mind where you think, I hope I'm getting this right. And at the same time, you know that the clock's ticking and you can't take the chance.
And you had set off to do a run. What did it make you feel like? What went through your head?
I've worked personally in kind of the voluntary and private sector with emergency work since leaving school, really. So I've got a little bit of experience in emergency response type stuff, you know. So I'm quite aware that there is that emotional connection, I suppose, with something quite traumatic, and that you've got to almost move on quite quick. And I'm not going to say for a minute not care less, but you do what you do the best of your ability, and then you move on. And for me, on that day, carry on with the run. I was asked by a couple of the stewards actually whether we wanted to get a lift back to my pronunciation's not quite as good, Town, is it? and pat the run in for the day. But yeah, no, move on, and what's done's done type of thing.
Well, I've got a lovely photograph of you and Troy running off into the sunset together. with your cape waving in the background.
It wasn't the bit where we were holding hands. Was it?
Not just, I must have got that one just before that started. But honestly, it's like I'm sitting here absolutely proud as punch to know that I know you, first of all, and I know it's not the first time you'll have saved a life, but you've absolutely made my life in this Red Sky story. It's another example of someone just doing something special, and I think you should be absolutely so proud of yourself, because I am, and I know you're a humble guy, but what you did that day, when so many people could have just ran past or could have just stand and watched and maybe put that guy in the recovery position because they thought he was breathing and not done the early CPR and essentially not get that heart pumping manually to get the blood and the oxygen in the blood to his brain to keep his brain alive. Because obviously you know about the minutes, we've touched on that, but after 4 minutes that brain starts to die without the oxygen going to it.
Yeah.
And after 7 minutes, if you hadn't done what you did, it's irreversible damage. And then 10 minutes later, you are fighting a losing battle. Big up for this man, Mick.
No, thank you. But I think whichever way it's dressed up, but at the end of the day, if equipment's not there, such as defibrillators, then again you're fighting that losing battle. And it's a combination of work, I suppose, especially on this day, from a number of different sides. But so anyway, if people are in a position to give £1 or a £5 or a tenner, the website, what was it again?
It's redskyfoundation.com.
And you've got your socials as well. If people fancy a bit of an adventure and they've got a good friend network and then get plenty of sponsorship, bit of a flick through and have a look on there.
Yeah, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we're on LinkedIn too, and we're also on X. But our latest feature is we are on TikTok. Yeah, we're down there with the kids. We're trying to bring a whole new dimension of getting our message out there. We have a laugh, don't get me wrong. That's what it's for, yeah? Follow us on the socials because, and if you do already follow us on socials, please get your friends too, because you know how this works. It's all about spreading the word.
If you're watching this or listening to this, jump on the page there, give it a little bit of a click, and there's no reason not to be fair, and be done at the same time.
I'm looking at your weightlifter here. What's this little cat called?
You know what? We haven't given him a name. He needs a little badge or something, doesn't he?
So if you are watching this, we'd love your comments, yeah? We'd like you to say, if you enjoyed the podcast, because this is my first one, all right? But I'd also like to say, if Mick's willing to have you name the cat, he's got a little black face there, lovely whiskers, and he's lifting the barbell there. He's about to go and do his lift. But if you could like to give him a name, put his name in the messages below, and we'll pick a winner, all right? It'll be a random generator. Is that okay, Mick?
Absolutely,
and what we'll do is we'll get you a Red Sky goodie bag for picking the winning name of this cat.
We'll match it. We'll throw in a month free as well. This is actually based in a gym. Some people don't know that the podcast is based gym related, I suppose. So yeah, we'll throw in a month in the gym, and if people are not local, we'll see what gyms are available.
I'm hoping that if I sit in here long enough, I might leave with a nice 6-pack eventually,
That's sometimes how it works.
Is that not how it works?
For me, or that's what we hope is anyway. But Sergio, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our newest podcasts, gym reviews, and other health and fitness content.